24. Chem. Security at the Molokai complex is state-of-the-art and extreme. No one gets into the compound who doesn't belong there. The outside fences are electrified and trank-charged. The gates boast scanners that can sniff you and decode your DNA just as easily as tell your brand of deodorant. Only the best for Proactive Citizenry's bioresearch facility. Unfortunately, all security systems are flawed and limited by the arrogance of whoever designed it. In this case, the designers were arrogant enough to think that they'd only need to secure the place from people on the outside. No one counts on a fox that's already inside the fence. Newly tweaked and effectively remotivated, Chemist Complex is, for all intents and purposes, glitch-free. True, there may still be some issues, but in a few short days, Chem will be the problem of the U.S. military, and his issues will go with him. General Boddicker has not only purchased his physical self, but his emotional self as well. Not just his presence, but his problems, whatever they turned out to be. Cam goes for a daily run on the expansive grounds of the compound, where sugarcane and taro root still grow right up to the edge of the cliff overlooking the sea. It's all still harvested and sold. Proactive Citizenry is all about employing local residents and paying them higher than standard wages to satisfy the organization's need to feel they are forward-thinking for humanity. Roberta and everyone else who is part of Proactive Citizenry seem to believe in the good work they're doing. They also believe in getting extremely rich while doing it. Cam doesn't run alone. He's not allowed. One of the guards, a particularly buff one, always joins him. Safety in numbers. They weave along the path that runs at the edge of the fields that grow year-round, harvested in staggered intervals. Some patches are clear-cut, others still green. As they move from clear-cut area into tall cane, Cam bursts into a sudden sprint, catching his jogging partner off guard. The path curves left. As soon as he's out of the guard's view, Cam turns sharply, disappearing into the cane. "Mr. Comprix!" He hears the guard shout. They all call him Mister here. Cam pushes on, knowing exactly where he's going, trying to keep from knocking down the cane and creating an obvious path. The stiff leaves whip at his face as he barrels through, stinging, but he doesn't care. For a moment he wonders if he's miscalculated, and if he'll come from the field into an unexpected ocean inlet, where he'll go flying off the edge of a cliff to his doom. "Mr. Comprix!" No doubt his jogging companion is now talking into his earpiece, spreading the word that Cam is AWOL. He comes to another path, a wider one, but crosses over into a thick copse of bamboo that grows much higher than the cane. The bamboo is dense and hard to push through. It's there for a reason. To create an environmentally aesthetic facade for the facility behind it. In other words, to hide it. The place doesn't appear on maps. It doesn't even show up in satellite photos, at least not the ones available to the public. From the outside, it appears to be just a warehouse, the way a movie studio soundstage is a warehouse. A large, hollow building that can be redesigned on the inside to be whatever it is needed at the time. There's no telling what Proactive Citizenry has tinkered and toyed with here. Perhaps this is where they began the great agave extinction by genetically engineering the agave-specific science snout weevil, but only after buying up massive quantities of tequila that now go for thousands of dollars a bottle. Or maybe this is where they grafted new faces on people in the Witness Relocation Program, a lucrative government contract that they had for 8 years until the program's budget was cut, making it no longer worthwhile. Or maybe this is where they did all that intensive research that brought about the cure for muscular dystrophy, while the third one was something Proactive Citizenry widely publicized. The first two, Cam found unexpectedly while hacking their computer system. From Cam's vantage point at the fence, he sees 3 FedEx trucks at the front entrance. Workers unload cargo. One of the drivers, in familiar purple and black shirt, and shorts, hands a clipboard to none other than Roberta, who is there to sign for the delivery. Cam thinks it's odd that proactive citizenry wouldn't use their own private delivery trucks to shuttle this cargo from the airport. But then, maybe the CEO of FedEx is on proactive citizenry's board. After all, it's the preferred philanthropic organization of corporate America. The more Cam considers it, the more he realizes it must be true. How ingenious! Why go to the mountain when you can use an existing infrastructure to move the mountain to you, one piece at a time? Cam leaves, having seen what he needed to see. He heads back through the bamboo, takes a different route, cutting through the cane and taro, then onto the jogging path once more, completing his jog back to the house. One of the ubiquitous guards stands there, not too pleased. "Found him," he says into his earpiece, and then to Cam. "Where you been?" "Shortcut through the sugarcane." "Bad idea, though. The stuff hurts." He wipes some blood from one of his several small scratches on his face. "Do us all a favor and stick to the path next time. We get crap every time you don't toe the line." "Gotta make life interesting. Dole is fine by me." As he goes up to take a shower, Cam considers what he had seen. Those could have been shipments of just about anything, except for one fact. The shipping containers were FedEx stasis packs, refrigerated, perfect for live organs, although they're not usually used for that. But then, proactive citizenry knows how to do things without raising red flags. A FedEx plane flies in and out of Molokai daily. How many parts, Cam wonders, are flowing into this complex every day? With so much going on, it's only a matter of time before things begin coming out. Roberta doesn't trust Cam the way she used to, but like the designers of the security system, she trusts herself and her own ability not to be outwitted. Herein lies the problem of building someone smarter than yourself, because even with the nanite worm selectively routing his memory, Cam has no problem duplicating the holographic digital signature of her security badge. That's easy. The hard part is finding a way to convince the security computer that Roberta is in two places at once, because an identity signature pinging from two separate locations is certain to trip an alarm. In the end, he takes a different tack, and instead convinces the server that today is, in fact, yesterday. Since no one told the computer that there's no such thing as time travel, it sees nothing out of the ordinary when history repeats itself in a different place. The rear door of the secret facility, the factory hidden within the bamboo, opens as obedient as Ali Baba's cave to the correct open sesame, now that he has cloned Roberta's badge. Cam isn't sure whether it would help or hinder him to know why he's doing this. All he knows, and he knows this beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that the girl whose love motivates him is worth it. The fact that he doesn't know who she is anymore is irrelevant. His pre-tweaked self knew, and he trusts that self more than he trusts himself now. It's 5:30 a.m. There are plenty of guards, but they're anything but quiet, and he can hide long before they pass by on their routine patrols. There are also plenty of security cameras, but he already has the monitors running. Happy little video loops of quiet little hallways. The place is his to explore. Using Roberta's forged security card, he gains access into several rooms. They're all the same, long wards lined with empty beds, perhaps 50 in each. It's the fourth room he visits that he hits the jackpot. In this room, the beds are occupied. He had a suspicion on what he might see, but imagining it and seeing it are two different things. In each bed is a rewind, like himself, and yet not like himself. Some will still wear bandages, but others whose healing is further along have bandages removed, so he can see their faces and much of their bodies. These rewinds bear none of the aesthetic grace that Cam does. They are sloppy and ugly, as if assembled with the perfunctory hand of a hack, or worse, an assembly line. There is no regard for symmetry or to the balancing of skin tone. seams cut at strange angles across each figure, and the scars are far worse than any scars Cam ever had. While his scars were treated to disappear over time, he suspects these will have no such treatment. None of them have yet awakened. They are all in an induced state of preconsciousness, a sort of integration gestation. He suspects that they are being kept comatose much longer than Cam was, as their many parts heal themselves into living beings. This building is their womb, and Cam realizes that this is where he must have begun as well. As Cam walks down the aisle, looking to his left and to his right at these pre-conscious beings, he finds it hard to catch his breath, as if the oxygen has been sucked out of the room. There is one thing they all share in common. Other than their randomness, each of them has a mark on their right ankle. At first he thinks it's their tattoos, but when he looks closer, he sees that they're actually seared into the skin. They're brands, and they say property of the United States military, followed by a serial number. The one Cam examines is numbered 00042. The presence of 3 zeros suggests that they will eventually number in the tens of thousands. I am the idea, thinks Cam, but they are the reality. And finally, he sees his place in all of this. He will be the face that the world sees, the one they become comfortable with, the public image of the military rewind. He'll be an officer, lauded and honored, and as such, he will not only open the door, but also pave the way for an army of rewinds. Perhaps it will start small, a special force called upon for a key maneuver somewhere in the world. For there will always be American interests to protect somewhere, some violent insurgency that must be addressed. Rewind save the day, the headlines will read, just as people became complacent and comfortable with unwinding. They will do the same for rewinding. What a fine thing, people will say, that the unwanted bits of humanity can be reformed and repurposed to serve the greater good. Like the way unwanted pork parts can be ground and pressed and reformed into tasty pimento loaf. Cam would be sick to his stomach, but he feels he doesn't have the right, because now, more than ever, he truly has the sense that his stomach is not his own. Cam? He turns to see Roberta standing at the entrance. Good. He's glad she's here. You didn't have to sneak in here. I would have shown you if you had asked, which is of course a lie. She already told him her work was top secret. His instinct is to point an accusing finger for the blatant hubris of what she's done here. But instead, he plays his emotions close, hoping she doesn't see the bile collecting within him. And he tells her calmly, I could have asked, but I wanted to see them on my own terms. And how do you feel about what you see? She watches him closely, so he buries his fury in revulsion. Instead, he allows only an acceptable amount of ambivalence to bubble to the surface. I knew I wasn't the be-all, end-all of your work, but to see it is distressing, sobering, he says, and maybe a little enlightening. He looks to the closest rewind, who stirs slightly in preconscious slumber. Was an army always your plan? Certainly not, she says, a bit insulted by the suggestion, but even my dreams must give way to reality. It was the military who expressed an interest in what we could do, the military who could afford to fund it, so here we are. And then Cam realizes that he's the one who made all this possible. He's the one who romanced General Boddicker and Senator Cobb. Of course, the military doesn't need rewinds who can speak 9 languages, recite poetry, play the guitar. It needs rewinds who follow orders, non-entities who are legally considered property, who don't need to be paid, and who have no rights. You look pensive, Roberta. Roberta comes closer to get a closer look at him. He doesn't flinch or crack in the least. I was thinking how brilliant it is. Really? Soldiers who have no families to go back to, whose entire identity begins with their military service, a stroke of genius. And I'll bet you can tweak them the way you tweaked me, to find their greatest satisfaction in their service. Roberta smiles, but hesitantly. I'm impressed that you've grasped the scope of this so quickly. It's visionary, Cam tells her. Perhaps one day I'll be the commanding officer of all my rewind brethren. Perhaps you will be. He turns and walks casually to the door. Roberta walks beside him, watching him, always watching him. Now that you know, you can put it to rest and get on with your life. And it'll be a glorious life, Cam. They need it to be. You must be seen as a prince among peasants, and General Boddicker knows that. You will want for nothing. You will be treated with respect. You will be happy. And so he beams for her, to project the impression that he already is happy. Roberta once told him his eyes came from a boy who could melt a girl's heart with a single glance. She probably never considered how effectively they could be weaponized against her. It's dawn, Cam says. I don't know about you, but I'm up for an early breakfast. Splendid. I'll let the kitchen know when we get back to the mansion. As they leave, Cam turns to take one last look at the room full of preconscious rewinds. These truly are my brothers and sisters, he thinks, and they must never be allowed to be born. Part 4. This lane must exit. Headlines. National Geographic, May 4th, 2014. Swapping young blood for old reverses aging. BBC News, Scotland, June 24th, 2014. Woman to be first in UK to have double hand transplant. ABC News, September 25th, 2013. Doctors grow nose on man's forehead. The Boston Globe, March 19th, 2008. Ex-doctor confesses to stealing body parts. The Huffington Post, July 6, 2013. Human head transplants now possible, Italian neuroscientist says.